The last Democratic dynasty officially taken down. There will be politically and potentially criminal implications for years to come. But here's a question for you tonight. Should we just assume it's a coincidence that Andrew Cuomo's brother Chris is really on just a one-week vacation right now? All right, good evening. I'm Leland Vittert. Be honest with yourself. Which side of the bet did you take on this one? Forget should he or shouldn't he. When you're dealing with a political and media powerhouse like the Cuomo brothers, it's more about will he actually step down? Turns out the answer, the winning answer for Andrew is yes. For the next few minutes, we're going to take you through how this morning's events unfolded. First, Cuomo's attorney came out and defended him for 43 minutes. We've condensed that for you. Here's just some of it.
We do need to think about qualitatively what each of the women are saying and whether these are the types of things that are impeachable offenses. And the governor has said, yes, he has called people darling and sweetheart. He has had to change with the times. Yes, he hugs and he kisses his staffers. He has had to change with the times. And as he said on August 3rd, after the Attorney General's report, that he slips, and he does. But this does not rise to the level of sexual harassment or groping or fondling, as has been portrayed in the press during the feeding frenzy of the last 8 days. And I just simply ask everybody to look at this. Is this something that you think is evidence of improper behavior by the governor? Yes, he joked with Ms. Camiso and Ms. McGrath. Yes, he would hug them, as he does many of his staffers, and yes, he would give them a kiss. He understood his relationship with them to actually be what's reflected in the photo, that they liked him very much, and he did not have a sense that either of them was uncomfortable with him.
Then came the shocker. We're going to get to the defense that the lawyer just gave in a minute, but this was something we were not sure the governor's ego would ever allow, and we're going to get into why it happened. A resignation, albeit a defiant one, that does not take effect for 2 weeks.
I'm a New Yorker, born and bred. I am a fighter. And my instinct is to fight through this controversy. The most serious allegations made against me had no credible factual basis in the report. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for that, I deeply, deeply apologize. The best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do. Because I work for you. And doing the right thing is doing the right thing for you.
Once perhaps there is no other option than doing the right thing. So he's out. Political questions abound. The accusers are still calling for justice, and the media circus rolls on. We're going to cover all of those angles, from politics to optics to the media. But first, the numerous legal questions still out there. We go to one of New York's premier criminal defense attorneys, sought after by politicians and celebrities alike, Arthur Aidala. Arthur, good to see you again. Welcome to News Nation. As I understood his attorney's defense, it was, yes, I hugged them. Yes, I called them darling. Yes, I kissed them, but I thought they liked it.
Well, so there's, you admit what you can't deny, but you deny what you can't admit. So there's certain things, Leland, that he did. There's pictures of them, holding them, touching them. So he's got to admit that he did that. But he has to deny that he did it for some form of sexual gratification, because just touching somebody is not a crime. There has to be some for it to be a what we would call here in New York a forcible touching. There's got to be a sexual element to it. So he can't say he didn't touch them because there's all kinds of evidence that he did touch them. But he can say that, listen, I was just being nice. I was just being friendly with them and taking a picture with them and putting my arm around them. And his lawyer, Leland, has to walk this tightrope between defending him in a possible impeachment and defending him in a possible criminal case and defending him in civil cases. So having been in her position before, I will tell you this, it is not easy walking that tightrope.
Well, it's interesting you point this out. I had not thought about the admit what you can and don't admit what you can't, but they put out a video of this. You might remember, and we're going to play this video. We did not produce this video. This video was produced by the governor's office and his attorneys showing him hugging and kissing just about everybody. And is sort of revolting as it has to be to have this conversation with you, Arthur, is basically what his defense is going to be. I hug and kiss all these people. I didn't get sexual gratification from the hugs and kisses you see right there. So why would I from similar behavior with my aides?
Well, that, again, he's been on the record as saying, as an Italian American, that is the way we greet each other. He said today that I never thought I crossed the line, but I obviously did cross the line, and the line has been redrawn, and I never figured out, or I never moved along with the times. And I thought, he brought it into his daughters, and he spoke directly to his daughters. I think that that made some sense in trying to show some empathy and some compassion. Look, you started the program, Leland, talking about, it's the end of a dynasty, and it is obviously the end of a Democratic dynasty. And I saw something, and you mentioned his ego. He really wanted to beat his dad's record and serving 4 terms as opposed to 3. Now he didn't even serve the full 3 terms. So from an ego point of view, he didn't even meet that threshold. The real question I have, what I would love to ask his attorneys is, did they do what I assume they tried to do, which is there were 4 prosecutors looking at these charges, these forcible touching charges. Did they cut a deal with all 4 of them, or one of them, because the Albany prosecutor, a complaint has been filed, and did they say, listen, he'll resign tomorrow, give me a letter saying you will not prosecute him, this case will be over, you'll get his resignation, it's only a misdemeanor, resignation from being the governor is a pretty big punishment, so let's do what's called a non-prosecutorial agreement and move past the criminal aspect of this.
And conceivably, we may never know whether that agreement exists or doesn't exist, correct?
You are absolutely correct, because it's not a public document. Right now, all that's been filed is a police report. Now the prosecutor in Albany has absolute discretion whether to pursue that charge or not pursue that charge. And many people would think that the complainant has some control, but she does not. The prosecutor could say, although I believe you, although I find you credible, I do find that this result meets the ends of justice, and therefore we are not going to arrest him. We're not going to put him through the system, and his resignation satisfies us. There are 4 different prosecutors looking at different aspects of different cases here. I would hope that his attorneys at least, and I'm sure I shouldn't say I'm sure because I don't know, but knowing the quality of his representation, they reached out to those prosecutors and said, hey, resignation is a punishment that way exceeds these crimes that he could be charged with.
Well, and perhaps, and we're purely speculating here, maybe that's why it took 7 days in a way, is that it gave him time to go to each one. We can speculate on and on for the whole show, but it brings up an important question on the timing, because Melissa DeRosa resigned. She was called by many the enabler-in-chief, the secretary or chief of staff in one way, sort of a shadow chief of staff to Andrew Cuomo, and the enforcer on his staff to a number of these women in keeping the people he allegedly had these inappropriate relationships with in line and retaliating against them. What do you make of her resignation yesterday and his today? Any coincidence there?
I mean, look, they're very close. They have been very close for a long time. It's funny because you mentioned the term enforcer. Andrew was his father's enforcer back in the day. Then he had Joe Percoco, who was Andrew's enforcer, who wound up and he's right now in federal prison. And now Ms. DeRosa has stepped in, and apparently she's been fiercely loyal. And I wouldn't be shocked if she knew that this was coming. And maybe what took place over the weekend and yesterday was just those deals with the prosecutors so that Andrew wouldn't be prosecuted criminally as long as he put his resignation in. And she just got out of Dodge a little early.
Well, and you can imagine there's going to be some civil lawyers circling subpoenas for her.
They're already there.
They're
already there, Leland.
Excellent insight, Arthur. We're smarter for having you on and appreciate hearing what was actually happening behind the scenes. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, man. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. And we'd love to know what's going on behind the scenes at CNN, because right now CNN anchor Chris Cuomo is on day 2 of his, and we quote, long-planned birthday beach vacation. As journalists, we are not trained to believe in coincidences. If you do, that's up to you. Colby Hall isn't trained to believe in coincidences either. He's founding editor of Mediaite.com. Nice to see you. Are you Good to see you. Are you surprised that Andrew Cuomo, we'll be specific in which Cuomo brother we're talking about, lasted this long?
Well, I think I'm not a legal expert. I think your previous guest, Arthur, said it exactly right. I never thought his ego would allow him to step down. But when Letitia James' report came out, it was damning. And, you know, I think the die was cast. And the last week was all about a negotiation for as graceful as an exit as possible. And I think that's what we saw.
It was a graceful exit in a way that today. It was a powerful speech. He walked off, drove off in his own car, and then flew off with his daughter. And then that was in the morning. And then the afternoon, Joe Biden, for some reason, decided, let me just sort of jump right into the breach. We have that sound. Take a listen, and then we'll get your reaction.
Years as governor of the state.
In terms of his personal behavior or what he's done as a governor?
What he's done as a governor.
Thought he's done a hell of a job. And, I mean, both on everything from access to voting to infrastructure, to a whole range of things. That's why it's so sad.
Oh, boy. Then it went downhill from there.
Well, I mean, in defense of Joe Biden, you could say that he's not scripted. He's not micromanaged. Because you got to say that, you know, there was hundreds of people in the background that were following saying like, oh, no, don't go there. Don't say that. And by the way, you know, Cuomo did some good things, but there's like $120 million that he budgeted to light up bridges that has gone to waste. So it's not as though
there's also about like 10,000 people who died in nursing homes that he covered up as well.
Of course.
So that the president didn't bother talking about. I'm more interested in the media angle. What did you make of the back and forth between the president and Caitlin Collins? And it was clearly this sort of testy exchange where the president thought he was answering a question on the merits, and it was clearly not what the media was looking for.
Well, I think with Caitlin, she's a strong, fierce, independent reporter, and because she's employed by CNN, which is central to the story, she was doing a really good job of sort of showing her independence from the larger CNN aspect of the story, of course, with Chris Cuomo. So, you know, Caitlin Collins and other CNN journalists that are independent from that story have done a good job in going after that, which, you know, by comparison to the way that the executives at CNN have handled this, and then some other notable people, which has made a very bad situation impossibly much worse. So the CNN angle with Chris Cuomo and his vacation, which, by the way, if he had this vacation planned during sweeps week, or he went on this vacation during sweeps, I would say, yeah, that's weird. But it is the second week in August, so I don't know whether or not it's a coincidence or not. You know, Tucker Carlson himself went to bat for Chris and said, yeah, he was on vacation. So, I mean, it's reasonable to be skeptical, but it is the second week in August where most people do take a vacation.
Well, fair enough, and not a bad time to have your brother resign as well. We also have defended Chris and said, you know, if your sibling called and said, I needed help, which Chris Cuomo's sibling did call and say, I need help, would you say no? No, you'd help your sibling in a time of need, and then you deal with the results later. You point out, though, that the people who've come out sort of looking the worst in this is the CNN executives for how they've dealt with it. You've pointed that out on the site, and Eric Wemple, the media critic for the Washington Post, pointed out last night on the show. Take a listen.
that was a low point for Brian Stelter. I felt that he completely towed the CNN PR line on this whole thing. He minimized the ethical dimensions of this crisis. He minimized what Chris Cuomo did here in helping his brother try to respond to these allegations. This was a complete whitewash. And it's a low for that particular program and perhaps for the network.
What's your guys reporting at media? You have fantastic sources inside the networks. Are people at CNN, the executives, worried about this, or they feel as though come Monday it's going to be over?
Well, I don't really know yet. I think it's been such a fluid story at the highest level, executive level at CNN. I think that they have been in damage control, and I think they're realizing that they may have misplayed this. I will say that my sources at CNN that are sort of like mid-management or not quite the executive suite are all sort of talking. They're all sort of upset, and they don't get why this has been so poorly handled. That the executives making the decisions about Chris Cuomo's coverage and this whole ordeal, that they were too close to it, and that colored their decision process. So, like I said earlier, it was a really bad decision, and I agree with what Eric said about Brian. Normally does great work, but the network nor Brian Stelter paraded themselves in glory, and it strains credulity that they weren't in consort about this whole thing. So, it's a tough situation, and I feel like it's still unfolding, and it's not clear what exactly will come from this with regard to Chris.
So Andrew Cuomo being gone, you don't think sort of allows CNN to wash their hands of it?
Well, I don't. I think that the damage is done with regard to, there's a line in golf that, cheaters always cheat, and golf has a long memory. And I wouldn't say that Chris Cuomo is a cheater, but journalism has a long memory. And when you sort of break journalistic standards by not disclosing a relationship with Andrew, his brother, and interviewing him in good times, and then when things go south, well, and you suddenly can't cover him, well, that's not proper journalism. And so I think Chris is going to have to, he's going to have to earn back the respect of his viewers through candor, through honesty, through contrition. And actually, those are three of the aspects. That's what Chris Cuomo does really well. So I think he'll be fine. I just think that it will be interesting to watch it unfold. And again, I think Chris wasn't done any favors by the executives at CNN. They put him in a really impossible spot. Probably
also earned back the trust of the executives as well. Colby, I knew there was a reason I liked you, and then you brought golf into a conversation about CNN. We're good for a life, my friend. Good to see you.
There you go. Good to see you, too.
All putts within 6 feet are good. Finally,
there we go.
There's a political earthquake brewing. In 2 weeks, Cuomo is going to officially be out. His lieutenant governor will be in. But even before his fall from grace, Republicans were eyeing a play for deep blue New York. So did that just become a reality? Elena Treen with Axios joins us now, star reporter with many scoops and the sources in just this type of situation. All right, Democrats have got to be happy he's gone, correct?
Correct. I think everyone basically breathed a sigh of relief today when they saw the news, particularly as, you have the top political brass up to President Biden having called for his resignation. And so I think, there's pros and cons right now for Republicans who are looking to run for governor and take over his seat because, one, Governor Cuomo obviously had incredible brand recognition. He's been there for a long time. He's, his father had been in that seat before him. And so the name just Cuomo is really well known in New York. At the same time, it became a liability for not just Democrats in New York, but Democrats across the country. And really, we saw everyone from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and President Biden all having to weigh in on this and all almost taking and having to share some political responsibility over what was happening. And so I think a lot of people were relieved. But as far as Republicans who are running in the race, I think, there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah, well, my mother used to say, don't wish someone ill, just wish them gone, which is what you got the feeling Democrats thought about Andrew Cuomo. But this seems sort of to solve a lot of problems for them, right? This was Chuck Schumer's statement that you tweeted out. There's no place for sexual harassment, and today's announcement by Governor Cuomo to resign was the right decision for the good of the people in New York. And boom, the nursing home debacle, the cover-up of thousands of deaths, all goes away for Democrats.
I don't know if that's totally fair. I think that there will still be, investigations into what was happening. But yes, when you do remove the person who was in charge of the pandemic from the situation, it does make it easier, especially as, the report that was conducted by the Attorney General in New York really showed that some of the responsibility went all the way up to Governor Cuomo. And it's going to be interesting. I think that again, the liability of having Governor Cuomo stay in office wasn't just going to end with the allegations from the report. I mean, sure, a lot of these political leaders and Democratic leaders called for his resignation, but the big question now was whether he was going to face impeachment proceedings. And it looked like that's what he was getting out ahead of. And impeachment proceedings would have been very messy for him. And especially, just Democrats overall, if we've looked at the way that they've handled allegations of sexual harassment, the Me Too movement, we saw people like Senator Al Franken, have resigning over something allegations far less than what Governor Cuomo has been alleged to have done. Someone like Katie Hill who exited. And so it looked like he was really in an untenable position here.
Yeah, well, and every Democrat was going to have to answer for it. It was a distraction as Democrats were trying to get through their next spending package on Capitol Hill, which we're going to have you back to talk about when the Senate gets back in session. Perhaps the only person with better name recognition, at least among the millennial class around the country, than Andrew Cuomo for a New York Democrat is AOC. Here was her headline: not ruling out a challenge to Chuck Schumer in 2022. Does Cuomo's resignation change that dynamic at all?
I'm not sure. I think less of what's happening with Governor Cuomo than what's happening and how Chuck Schumer and more of the moderate wing of the party continue to handle politics. I think how he handles this infrastructure fight, particularly, the Senate passed today the $1.2 trillion infrastructure deal, but I think more importantly, it's going to be how they handle the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. I think people like AOC and other progressives within New York as well are going to be looking for, how progressive Chuck Schumer is in handling his position as Senate Majority Leader and also President Biden. And so I think less about him, less about Governor Cuomo and what's happening there, but more so what's happening with the officials from New York who are currently on Capitol Hill and in Washington.
You've done some great reporting on just how far to the left Chuck Schumer has moved to protect that flank. Elena, read it all on Axios. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leland.
Good to see you. Up next, he's been openly critical of Mayor Lightfoot. We're talking to a local columnist about the response to the shooting of a death of a Chicago police officer. And our coverage of the Cuomo saga continues. We're going to take a closer look at the background of New York's lieutenant governor and the lessons we can all learn from this. Welcome back. Take a look at the image on your screen right now. In case you can't tell, these are Chicago police officers, some in plain clothes, as you can tell, some in uniform, standing watch at a hospital where one of their own was fighting for his life after a gunfight. The same gunfight that killed 29-year-old officer Ella French. It's hard to tell from the picture exactly what's happening here, but as you can see, their backs are all turned. They were turning their backs on the mayor of the city of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. Why, might you ask, would police officers turn their back on their boss who came to grieve with them? Well, that's a good question, one we're going to hope to answer tonight. This headline might shed some light on the situation. Calling Chicago Chirac might be an insult to Iraq. The mayor is hated by rank and file officers here in Chicago who feel betrayed. And that feeling is held by many officers about their mayors across the country. Columnist John Cass has been covering the city for close to 40 years and joins us now. John, it seems as though Officer French's death has laid bare this deep, deep division.
Yes, Leland, it has. I've never seen it so bad. Usually cops generally don't like the mayors of their cities, and just like reporters don't like their editors, right? And TV reporters might not like the general manager, but I have never
For the record,
seen
I
it.
love my general manager on the chance that he's watching tonight. But
I know you do.
You now work for yourself, so you don't have you don't have any editors to.
I'm a free bird.
You're a free bird, and that's why I wanted to bring you on to talk about your reporting about this, because this goes beyond sort of a dislike or a difference in policy. The police, the rank and file in Chicago, really feel sold out. Why?
Well, from the beginning, Lori Lightfoot has been throwing them under the bus. There were issue after issue where she would gratuitously make comments, and also policy-wise, and they've just had it. I mean, during the riot, the George Floyd mostly peaceful protests, okay, when there was looting, waves of looting, and she didn't solve it and didn't deal with it. Exhausted police officers went to Bobby Rush's office, Congressman Rush, to guard it. And some fell asleep and a few had popcorn, okay? She had a meltdown. I mean, she started screaming about it. It was it's been pathetic. And I think
is it that she doesn't like the police? She doesn't trust them? We've seen mayors talk about how police are the problem. Is it policy? Is it personal? Can you shed any light on that?
I think both. I think what happened, she campaigned as a left of center personality. And then when she got in to the mayor's office, she cut a deal, or tried to cut deals, with the hard left Chicago Teachers Union and started warring with police.
I was going to say,
What's happened?
Center left was a long way ago for Lori Lightfoot. We wanted to get your insight on this. Anna Devolantes, longtime TV anchor, award winner here in Chicago, now an anchor at our sister company, WGN Radio, obtained this audio, and it's important to listen to because it shows that in the moments of the most solemn time and after an officer has died, this is when Officer French's body was being taken into the medical examiner's office, the final dignities that are offered is the police bagpipe team plays. And the first chief deputy, a guy named Eric Carter, ordered that ceremony not take place. Listen to the audio. We'll get your thoughts after.
Section, we're not going to be waiting on the bagpipes. Go ahead and get the vehicle inside. Take it all the way inside. Do not stop. All right, take the vehicles inside. Take the vehicles inside.
Can't imagine that does much for morale at the police department.
Morale's never been worse. Take it inside. That's the body of a fallen officer. And if anyone should know that, it's First Deputy Carter, who handles the funerals for dead officers and tells the bagpipes where to stand. And so I just don't know how you can run a department with morale this low.
Yeah, I don't know how
I've never seen the...
I don't know how you come back from this. Lori Lightfoot is quoted as saying, "Now is not the time for toxic rhetoric or reporting." Oh, so I guess now it's the journalist's fault.
Right, now it's time to be quiet so Lori can begin her campaign, I assume. But I'm not going to be quiet. And on johncast.com, johncastnews.com, today I wrote about that issue that you brought up. Carter, the bagpipes, the anarchy. It's just, I've never seen it this bad. It was not like this when you were here at Medill.
No,
when you'd walk down.
Yeah, when I was here 15 years ago, you could walk around and feel safe. That's no longer the case. And we cover Chicago because it's important and because so much of the national media ignores it. But so much of what's going on here is emblematic of what's going on in cities across the country. St. Louis, my hometown, is one very similar. John, we appreciate your reporting. And as additional pieces come out, we know you don't shy away from the facts. We want you to come back and talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure is ours. Up next, as we've been reporting, it took 7 days after an explosive report for Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign. This is his brother, Chris. So we're going to talk about Andrew Cuomo up next with a New York City council member. And we'll talk about it all on social media, especially about Lori Lightfoot, Chicago, and crime here at Leland Vitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Welcome back. Time for a deep dive on our top story. The resignation of Governor Andrew Cuomo won't become effective for about 2 weeks, but it is hard to understate the significance of this or how much has changed in a year. Because remember, a year ago, people were talking about Andrew Cuomo replacing then candidate Joe Biden at the Democratic convention. Now he has resigned quite literally in disgrace on a number of topics. As it turns out, though, the New York governor's mansion is no stranger to disgrace and misconduct. In fact, the state's last 3 governors, all Democrats, left office amid scandal, including Andrew Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo. And by the way, the governor, as well as the media and even the Hollywood establishment, used to love applauding Cuomo on his, you guessed it, leadership skills, especially during the pandemic. For example, his book cover, well, it has not aged well. American Crisis, Leadership Lessons from the COVID-19 Pandemic. Our next guest has direct knowledge of serving New York City during the pandemic, did so without the scandals that have beset Andrew Cuomo. Keith Powers is a councilman in the city of New York, represents the Upper East Side of Manhattan, clearly working late, 8:30 Eastern, still in the office tonight. Councilman, we appreciate you taking some time for us. It's got to be a sigh of relief for Democrats that you don't have to keep answering for Andrew Cuomo, isn't it?
Well, it's a massive sea change now in New York State as a result of what's happened today. And we're going to see repercussions from starting today with the new governor all the way through next year as we go into election season. I think for many New Yorkers, they've been talking about changes of leadership for quite some time. And obviously, since March, we've been talking about many of the incidents of folks who came forward, and we're thankful for all those people who came forward. But undoubtedly, right now is a mark in a new era in New York State politics that will lead to many changes, I think, ahead as we get into the next year, which is an election year in New York State.
Likely a lot of changes. If the top guy leaves, everybody moves up. You might have a new job. We may be interviewing the future mayor of New York. You never know. We may have changes. The questions I think also people are asking, are we going to have answers, especially about the nursing home deaths? This is from the New York Times. More than 172,000 residents and employees of nursing homes and long-term care facilities have died of complications of COVID-19 in the United States, according to a Times analysis. New York still leads all states in such deaths with more than 15,000 so far. And there's also reason to believe that the Cuomo administration covered up a lot of other deaths as well. Does his resignation mean that we don't get real answers into what happened in the nursing homes?
I think there's a lot of work that will remain to be done here, even in light of the resignation. And I think nursing homes might be one of them, where there's going to be a lot of New Yorkers and legislators in particular who are calling for accountability in terms of what happened in the nursing home. So I don't know that that particular investigation is going away. And also on some of the allegations that were in the report, we're seeing district attorneys take a look into them as well. So I don't think everything is done here, but I think certainly the resignation puts the impeachment proceedings into question, and I think certainly lightens some of the accountability that might have happened to the governor otherwise. But something like the nursing homes, I think there's certainly a lot of legislators who are still looking at that issue, still want answers, and feel like from COVID to accountability, there's still a lot to do here in the state, regardless of the impeachment. Of the resignation.
Well, yeah, resignation makes impeachment a moot point. But you made an important point about, this is a big deal, lots of change. For people who are not from New York and for whom Manhattan is not the epicenter of the world, those of us do exist in the world. We live in the flyover states. Explain to us, what does the fall of the Cuomo dynasty in New York mean? How big of a deal is it?
Sure. First of all, I welcome everybody to move to Manhattan, of course, on the east side of Manhattan. But it's a big deal. This is a major moment in New York State politics. It's not just the dynasty politics that's toppling here. It's somebody who's been governing our state for so long. And now we have not only an immediate new governor, we're going to see a lot of other folks start to move up, as you said earlier. So it's I think we're seeing a lot of sea change across the country where dynasty politics is ending anyway. But I think certainly here, I think New Yorkers are now looking for something different, looking for a change, and I think are ready to move on from this era. And I certainly can tell you that I think lots of the folks at the state level are ready to have a new partner to work with in the executive mansion.
It's hard to get more old school Democratic politics in New York than Andrew Cuomo. The next name that would come to mind would be Chuck Schumer. There is talk, and she hasn't ruled it out, of AOC making a primary bid against Schumer for 2022. Do you think Cuomo's resignation makes that more or less likely from your view on the ground?
I think Schumer is extremely, extremely popular. I'm very grateful for a lot of the work he's done in New York State. He delivered billions of dollars of relief to us, helped the average New Yorker, to the businesses, to Broadway. I worked with him on the reopening of our tourism here in New York City. I think New Yorkers are feeling that when it comes to Senator Schumer. So I feel pretty confident about his chances to be reelected under any scenario. I think this shakeup really will lead to lots of other folks moving around and maybe folks who are in lower office looking for something higher. But I think there'll be enough vacancies here that people will be able to do a little bit of musical chairs versus looking to take other people out.
All right, Keith. Well, when you have an announcement to make, come back and do it here, all right?
If I have news, I'll make it with you. But today I'm here just serving my district, and I appreciate the opportunity.
And they're late at night, 8:45, burning the midnight oil. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Up next, COVID confusion. Yeah, me too. Any update on the fight between politicians and healthcare professionals in many states? What that means for if you get in a car accident or have a heart attack when we come back. Welcome back. If you're confused about what's going on with COVID, well, you're not alone. We're going to get into that in a minute. Meantime, for doctors on the front lines, it's a fight against time as the hospitals are quite literally overflowing. In Texas, they have built overflow tents to treat COVID patients. As you might remember, the governor there says no to mask mandates and is fighting lawsuits over the issue. And Florida is reportedly asking for more ventilators there. Governor Ron DeSantis signed a law that will fine businesses who enforce vaccine mandates. While in Arkansas, they report they are down to 12 ICU beds. And the governor, in a moment of reflection, says his light touch approach to COVID might have been, well, a mistake.
To make sure that we can look ahead and get ahead of the curve on ICU space. It is obviously very limited. Everybody has to realize this is not a good time to get sick because the space is limited.
All right, Dr. Catherine O'Neill, Chief Medical Officer of Our Lady of Lake Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, said her hospital is in your words, ma'am, the darkest days of the pandemic. What does that mean?
What we're seeing on the ground is just a swift escalation in the number of COVID-positive patients who've come through our doors in the last week, 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, when we kind of sounded the alarm and said we're starting to see an increase again, we had 36 patients in the hospital. Today we have 193, 9 of them children, most of them wholly unvaccinated, 50% of them less than 50. Just an incredibly different pandemic than we saw last year. And it's really the escalation of those cases that bothered us the most because we couldn't create beds fast enough and find staff to come in. Today at the hospital, what you'll see is a backup of care, ambulances lined up outside, and really sort of an unmantling of the safety net for the community, taking longer to reach each patient who's calling EMS, taking longer to find a test, things that we feared last year, we thought we had overcome, and now they're back to haunt us.
One of the arguments that people use against vaccine mandates is they say, look, if I am vaccinated, I'll be fine. And if I'm unvaccinated, that's my choice, and it doesn't affect anybody else. So let live and be live. Let live and go on. Right. What I'm hearing from you, though, is that I'm sorry?
No, absolutely. Go on.
Okay. No, I guess the question, though, is now, is the fact that there are so many unvaccinated people in your hospital mean that if I, as a vaccinated person, get into a car accident in Baton Rouge or have a heart attack or my mother has a stroke, it's unlikely that they're going to get the kind of top-tier care that your facility is used to giving?
That's right. That's exactly sort of what we're trying to get out to people today is we want people to make an informed decision.
What I understand, this isn't a warning.
Yeah.
This is actually happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's done. We warned 2 weeks ago, and now today we're just saying that you need to stay home, you need to put on your mask, and you need to get vaccinated today because it will take you weeks to develop the protection that we really needed several weeks ago. Today, if I have a stroke, today, if I have a heart attack, today, if I just break my leg, I can't get the care I need. It's not happening. It's not going to happen for weeks because we had so many positive cases over the weekend and today that we already know that next week is going to look even worse. We're out of oxygen tanks. Our oxygen is freezing. You can't go home on oxygen today because everybody is out of supplies.
Wow.
We never thought we'd reach this point, but we're here. And so now we're in a critical state of basically crisis. How do we get past it? Everybody's got to do their part. And when everybody does their part of that is vaccination. So our really tool right now is how do we inform people? Yeah.
It's terrifying. I want to just get your thought real quickly. So many politicians on the right have talked about your body, your choice. And then on the left, we see other politicians, Rashida Tlaib, for example. She was unmasked at a party, rolling around, dancing at a wedding. Almost looked like she was at Martha's Vineyard at Barack Obama's party. She wasn't, but she was out partying. I would imagine the rhetoric on the left and the right and these examples don't help you much in your cause.
No, they don't. And honestly, we stopped watching the news a long time ago as healthcare providers because all we see in front of us every day are patients. And so what we need people to do is to start listening to information about the vaccine, to information about their health, and doing the things that make them healthier, and to just cut through the noise, because all of that, that's just noise. And on the other end of that noise is somebody who's sitting in my emergency room having a heart attack and not being seen today.
Well, as someone who was in an emergency room in a fine facility such as yours with COVID and counting on people just like you to take care of them, I thank you and applaud you for the hard work and long hours. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. All the best. Up next, they declared their love for Governor Cuomo. We unearthed some of the best social media videos that celebrities may wish just never happened. Earlier in the show, we showed you a few things that have not aged well in the light of the Cuomo scandals. Of course, there is his book, Lessons in Leadership. Just imagine what a signed copy will go for in a few decades. But if you bought a book and then gave it to the library, who really cares? Many celebrities, however, are learning the hard way that Twitter love, real love, is forever. Heartbreaking for Chelsea Handler, as you might imagine. She talked about her hero, the man who got her through the pandemic, crushed her soul and burned in such a spectacular fashion. It's one thing to profess your love. We've all have failed crushes in our life. It's another to go all in, and I mean all in, as Trevor Noah did.
The one governor who's crushing it the most right now is Andrew Cuomo. Yes. Thanks to his handling, his approval rating has soared to a 7-year high. And he's even becoming something of a crush for many people. Yeah, people online are falling in love with him. And I'm not going to lie, those people include me. My Tinder profile now lists me as a Cuomo-sexual.
Evidently, and we checked, Cuomo-sexual became a thing. The online Etsy store has dozens of items that help you profess your next-level love for the Gov. And no, we aren't kidding. This is actually a thing on Etsy. Cuomo-sexual merch at last check. This Cuomo-sexual t-shirt sold for $8.95. But you have to ask yourself, even before this scandal, when was it ever acceptable to wear this? Ever. As my mother would say, there is no accounting for taste. And as my mother would also tell me, it's never too late to do the right thing. We want to apologize to Mario Cuomo. We confused him with another New York governor who left office in disgrace. He, unlike his son, served 4 terms with dignity.